Hey VC HHD students, my name's Andy. I'm a VC Health and Human Development teacher. In this short video, we're going to look at answering the 2019 VC HHD exam, question number 8. Before we dive into question number 8, just a reminder, at the Health Resources Hub YouTube channel, a new video is coming out like this one each day between now and the HHD exam at the end of this year. So please subscribe with the button in the bottom corner of the video there and let your HHD friends know so they can do so too and get access to all of those videos. This September, there's 2 ACED HHD exam preparation sessions that I'm running, and you can book a spot to those at book.acedvce.com, and you'll get your session notes in the post. You can see there our social media links if you'd like to follow us and get alerts to the new videos coming out each day, and our email if you've got any questions or suggestions on videos you'd like me to work on. Now you can see question 8 of the 2019 exam was worth 11 marks, and it started with this stimulus material here. So there's quite a bit going on in this stimulus material. You can see that there's the proportion of DALY global and the proportion of DALY in Australia. And so on these graphs here, you can see the percentage, okay, of DALY on the y-axis and the year on the x-axis for both of these graphs. And then the different bars, okay, had different sort of color codings, and that related to the key down here, which was the different conditions that were represented in each of those bars. So A was asking you to describe disability adjusted life years as a measurement of health status. Okay, so you can see that was worth 2 marks there, and so you need to make sure that you included 2 points in your description. So a lot of students would have mentioned in their description of DALY that it encompasses both years of life lost due to premature death as well as years lived with disease, illness or injury. You could also mention that it is used as a measure of burden of disease. Okay, so you might also include the formula as part of your description, that DALY equals YLL plus YLD, but that alone probably would not get you a mark, so you need to ensure that you included a couple of descriptive points as well. You can see here then B, for 3 marks, was asking you to use information from the graphs to compare the changes in the proportions contributed by each burden of disease to DALY between 1990 and 2016 in Australia with the changes globally. So there's quite a lot for just 3 marks. But if you read a question and just think, oh, that's asking me to do quite a lot of things, but it's only worth 3 marks, that doesn't mean you can ignore any aspect of the question, because you still need to address all aspects of the question. So it mentions there that you had to mention each burden of disease. And so that means that there was 4 different conditions, okay, in that key, and each of those needed to be referenced in your answer. Okay, it said use information from the graph, so it didn't necessarily say you had to include data, okay, but it would be good to include at least 1 data point in your answer. You can see down here, okay, that there's a couple of points in the examiner's report that students need to ensure that when they were analysing the data, they use correct units, and a number of students mentioned the number of DALYs instead of the actual percentage or proportion that's represented in the graph. They've also given an example of a high scoring response here, okay, which if you look at, does mention all 4 of those conditions that were mentioned, okay, as being required in the question. And then they talk about how they all stayed relatively stable, okay, in Australia, but there was obviously quite a change in that global set of numbers, and so the proportion attributed to non-communicable diseases increased from 42% in 1990 to approximately 60% in 2016, whereas the proportion attributed to communicable diseases decreased from approximately 30 to 20% respectively for those years. So that's a good example of how you can include a link, okay, or a reference to all of those 4 different examples, and then just give some data about 1 or 2 of them, or reference the change for 1 or 2 of them to still address all aspects of that question. You can see then over here in C, okay, they asked you to use the proportion of DALY global to select 1 burden of disease that had decreased in proportion from 1990 to 2016, and explain how the biomedical and social models of health may have contributed. So probably the best example that had decreased in proportion in that global set of numbers was communicable diseases. So I would have started by mentioning that here, and then making a link to both the biomedical and the social models and how they might have contributed to that. And so obviously you have to show knowledge of the biomedical model. So you can see down here in the high scoring response, they talked about improvements in medical technology, and then they gave some examples that could be related to communicable diseases, like medical technology for vaccinations and antibiotics might have led to more of these previously untreatable communicable diseases being treated, which has decreased, that proportion. And then in terms of the social model of health, they've mentioned that health campaigns, which might have raised awareness, and safe health practices, and they've given an example there, might change people's behaviours and therefore once again contribute to the reduction in communicable diseases. So making sure that you mention in each of those responses how it's linking to that decrease in proportion of communicable diseases. And then finally for D, for 2 marks, they're just asking you to outline 2 disadvantages of the biomedical model of health. So if it says outline, make sure you do more than state. So don't just say the biomedical model of health is expensive. So you elaborate on that and say because it relies on health professionals, that means that it's likely to be a costly model of health. So make sure that you include a bit of additional information. They've given some other examples down here, so you could have said something along the lines of not every condition can be treated, nor effectively managed once it's diagnosed, so reliance on the biomedical model of health might not necessarily prolong life. So make sure for those disadvantages and even advantages that you know for biomedical, social models of health, etc., you might know more than just sort of a couple of words, that you've got, an outline ready to go if that question pops up. Hopefully you found that video useful. As a reminder, the Health Resolve YouTube channel, the ACE HHE exam preparation sessions, our social media links, and our email. Thanks so much.